I have some unbelievable video to play for you. And I have to tell you, I'm pretty damn proud of what I'm about to play for you. Lone liberal Luke the Bee's Knees Beasley, who started going to Trump rallies for us now, I guess years ago, right? How long has it been? Luke Beasley appeared on the Timcast Earl, that's IRL, the Timcast Earl show, and he decimated 5 Megapotamians who brought the usual specious arguments out. This is real. You know, when I saw Luke in DC last week, he told me he was going to be doing this, and he seemed very well prepared. You know, one of the great things about going to the White House last week was not only did I get to see Luke and the Dollemores and others, I also met folks like Dean Withers, for example, who I think are just doing such a great job in these confrontational debates. And I said to Dean, and I said to Luke, I don't know if it's that I'm just too old for this crap, but I am too tired to go through the prep that's required to really seriously be prepared for these sorts of situations. They threw everything at Luke. And I'm going to play for you. It's like a media literacy clinic, really. I'm going to play for you some of what I think are the key moments. This was 2.5 hours long, if you can believe that. Anyway, let's not even weigh in on that. But let's dive into it. A couple of different clips here. And one of the things that, well, let me play it first, and then I'll explain what's interesting about this.
It says from Antifa.
Again, tell me. I think you have a great explanation.
I certainly do. I'm wondering, as you've made an argument, if you know what you're talking about.
How does that connect to my argument?
Do you know the difference between various ideologies among the right and the left? You've not been able to define it.
I actually know. I would say I'm not a master in the distinguishments between different ideologies within a side.
Then how can you claim the right is more violent?
Oh, how can you claim the left is more violent?
Because I know many of
From
these
your
different
feelings
factions
and your observations.
from my field reporting expertise and the reading of the research.
Well, then what research?
So if we distinguish, say, anarcho-libertarian, anarcho-communism, anarcho-syndicalism, we can talk about tankies, we can talk about social liberals, we can talk about traditional liberals.
Now, what Tim Pool is doing here is totally logically fallacious. It's fallacious, I should say. Oh boy. What? It's the day after. Okay. One of the things Tim Pool is doing here is he is trying to argue that if Luke can't define terms that Tim has arbitrarily put forward, Luke can't possibly evaluate data that shows that there is far more right-wing political violence in the United States than left-wing political violence. Now, these are two unrelated things. The thing that Tim asked Luke to define was, what's the difference between left-wing collectivism and right-wing collectivism? Luke said, I don't know. I mean, I can't define that, but that's a separate issue from crime. And of course, there is a relatively simple answer to the difference between left and right-wing collectivism, which is that right-wing collectivism is often based in national identity, racial identity, etc., whereas left-wing collectivism is more often based along class lines. That's what I would have said, but it doesn't matter because we know that when you look at politically motivated violence in the United States, the vast majority of it is right-wing. I would even argue, because they they love to pull this game where they say any radical Islamist-based violence is left-wing. Even if you give them that, most of the political violence is still right-wing. But I think if you look at the teachings of radical Islam, how can you argue that that's left-wing? There's nothing left-wing there. You do have the occasional eco-terrorist, which I think could accurately be branded as left-wing. And we don't want to fall into like a no true Scotsman thing where by definition, anyone who commits violence can't be left-wing. No, that's not true. You've got some eco-terrorism occasionally in the United States that we could say that's left-wing. But certainly the white nationalist violence and all of that stuff is overtly right-wing. And I would argue when you are committing violence in the name of a radical literal interpretation of religious doctrine, which you believe should govern civil government, which is what a radical interpretation of Islam would say, that seems fundamentally right-wing and authoritarian and fascistic. So anyway, the game that Tim Pool likes to play is saying, define these terms. And then when the person can't, you go, oh, well, you couldn't possibly just look at the data about crime, when of course you could. These are two completely different things. All right, we move ahead just briefly in this discussion, and this sort of thing just continues.
Read a press release from the University of Maryland. I'm asking you to define which groups.
I dug, and I could not find any research, even that came from a right-wing institution, that gave
which right-wing institution?
I'm saying I couldn't find one.
I agree. You can't find a right-wing institution that tracks.
Oh, there are right-wing institutions that do studies and stuff.
They don't track this.
Sure, maybe because they're studies. Do you see what's happening though? I think
you haven't done the research, and so you're saying
apparently you haven't even less than me. Sheesh.
I have 20 years of field reporting on the ground,
and every single time you come back to
give me substance, bro.
That's what I'm asking you. I'm saying I don't get caught up, especially like let me give you another example. Crime has been going down. I could go find instances of crimes taking place, right?
The FBI lied about that.
The FBI lied about that. That crime is not going down, and they actually altered and omitted those statements. Crime didn't go down.
It's not even an argument.
It actually went up.
You do know the FBI revised the
for
crime
2022, not 2023 and 2024.
Right.
We're seeing a really good trend on that front.
Do you know why? In
2022, it was not a huge revision.
Do you know why homicide is down?
Tell me.
I'm asking you not.
Anyway, so he plays these games where he wants to set the terms. Answer this question, answer that question. And of course, this isn't really how we figure things out and get to reality. And I'll admit, this is a very tough situation to be in for Luke. And he handled it as well as... Also, he's around multiple of these people. And Luke is the newest to this of any of these folks and really holding his own. Let's go to another moment from this discussion where Tim Pool starts to get angry. He doesn't like how Luke is handling this, and Tim starts to get very angry.
Specifically cited his speech. My dude, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's fine. I get it. We try to be polite. We try to be nice. But there are so many young liberals who sit here and say, the corporate press told me that these people are bad, and the machine state government has decreed it by pen. So I don't care what crime they committed. I don't care what the jury said. I don't care who was on the jury. Enrique Tarrio, who was not there, should be in prison for 2 decades. Tell me this now. Why is Enrique Tarrio in prison?
Yeah, so they uncovered with him his plot to overthrow the government.
Enrique Tarrio's?
Yeah, and his organization.
What plot? Who's they? Give me some
prosecutors.
Give me some fucking data. Stop squinting at me and saying the prosecutors did a thing.
Luke's squinting because Tim's losing his mind. He's coming at this with this indignant, how dare you come in here and say things? Why won't you do dictionary and define every term I give you? Why won't you just tell me I'm right, Luke? This is so triggering to Tim.
No, you didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers. All you know is the fascist machine state told you he should be in prison, and you're saying yes to them. Tell me why.
No, I understand that laws on the books have been there for a long time that I agree with, that if it's proven that you had a plan and you wanted to act on it, then days after. The proof is
say the proof
by prosecutors.
Say it.
Communications.
You know, the problem with everything that is being levied here is you could just as easily turn this around on Tim and say, okay, so it sounds like you're essentially saying you don't respect the way that the laws are written. You don't respect the conclusions of a jury within a trial. You're just saying none of it really matters. And so we could turn that around and say, okay, so listen, Kyle Rittenhouse's acquittal, I don't agree with the way that the self-defense law is written. I don't agree with the conclusions of the jury. I think the system was biased in his favor. This is sort of the conspiracy loophole or black hole I've talked about before, where evidence for and evidence against or absence of evidence, it all points to the same conclusion because you've predetermined it. And this is, of course, another one of those examples where despite the recorded audio tapes of Enrique Tarrio, the Proud Boy leader, despite prosecutors proving their case, despite everything that happened, Tim just doesn't agree with it. And so the thing that if I were to critique Luke here, I would say he should have more quickly recognized it doesn't matter what he says. It almost, in the 2.5 hours, it almost doesn't matter what Luke says, because what this is really about, it seems to me, is that Tim really didn't like that 20-whatever-year-old Luke Beasley came in and faced down 5 of these people, and all they could do was blow up and yell at him. Let's look at a little bit more of this.
What communications? What did he say? What did he do?
Is this serious?
Are you going to tell me why you think Enrique Tarrio should be in prison for 20 years, or are you going to say the government decreed it?
I just explained to you.
So the government said so. Is that it?
It's usually law enforcement, which I guess is a part of the government.
Government said so?
Yep.
So you can't say why.
That uncovers evidence of communications, a memo that he
It's sort of like, how does law enforcement work, Tim?
crafted and sent to his organization.
Saying what?
That detailed each institution of government that they were going to try to overthrow. Then just days later, his organization is at the Capitol.
Typing.
I don't think we can even pull up Enrique Tarrio.
I'm not quite.
All right, so then about a minute goes by, and then it's maybe like the absolute funniest moment where Luke is immediately proven right, and it makes Tim Pool's entire blow-up seem really stupid.
States that is true. Well, now we got a problem. Let's try this again. Let's try a secondary source. Let's see.
Sorry, let me back up because we actually missed it. Tim looks it up, and it's exactly what Luke said.
In the article. So here's a citation. Proud Boy and 3 other members of the far-right groups were convicted Thursday in a plot to attack the Capitol. A jury in Washington, D.C. found Tarrio and 3 lieutenants guilty of seditious conspiracy after hearing dozens of witnesses. Jurors cleared a 5th defendant, Dominic Pizzola, an assistant in charge, and a significant milestone of the Justice Department, which is now secured a conspiracy, blah, blah, blah.
Uh-oh, it's exactly what Luke said.
They will never stop. Okay, that's interesting. Wikipedia asserts that they did this, but there's actually nothing in the news article that actually states that is true. Well, now we got a problem. Let's try this again. Let's try a secondary source. Let's see. There it is. They introduced evidence that Tarrio discussed with associates a plan to have a large crowd in Washington storm government buildings in a scheme they called 1776 Returns, in which the Winter Palace was used as an apparent code for the U.S. Capitol. In a message, he said, make no mistake, we did this, do what must be done, and he directed the Proud Boys to do it again. So the question then becomes, in the bigger picture...
So are you going to at all acknowledge that you just blew up over something that I was absolutely citing fairly?
I don't think you cited it fairly.
I think people should be prosecuted for engaging in plans to overthrow a government. That's kind of...
That's a very loose definition of plans to overthrow the government.
Now the terms are too loose, and it's all... Listen, this is really a masterclass from Luke put in a very difficult position. I'm not going to play this entire thing, but here's another moment where the topic of the deficit came up, and this is really good.
So security...
You're not hearing me.
The large spike was COVID. I actually don't know if Trump's debt was in any way more egregious than any of the past presidents. It looks rather linear.
Yeah, I just think if you... Again, since this portrays it in a different visual, Axios, Trump, Biden debt, should pull it up. Trump does have, he added more to the debt than any president. But again,
this one says he ran up twice
COVID to be
the debt.
I don't know about
Right. That's COVID.
No, exclude. Look, non-COVID.
Oh, I see. You're right. Yeah, non-COVID relief. Trump is more than double Biden. I see Trump's position, and I don't.
Quickly, get that off the screen.
Credit for this one is that you want to be under-leveraged. His idea is that you want to maintain growth above spending, and then it doesn't matter if you're.
But he failed to do that even before COVID. I think we agree.
I don't know. I mean, the economy was doing fairly well, regardless.
But if you look at the
now he's changing that. This is a classic. Now he changes the topic. Now, Tim, from going from the debt and deficit issue, once that was proven wrong by Luke, Tim just goes, the economy kind of seemed to be doing fine, which is a different argument. That's a modern monetary theory argument, which is even despite deficit spending, if it's on the right stuff, the country and the economy could be doing fine, which I think is an important topic to engage with, but it's one they deny until Luke Beasley shoves it in their face. Really nice job by Luke here. And 2.5 hours, exhausting to deal with these people, but very nicely done. All right, January 1, 2025, we are going to be doing a one-day membership discount special. It will be a discount the likes of which no one has ever even heard of before. If you'd like to take advantage of this one-day membership discount, get on our mailing list at davidpakman.com. Upper right of the website, you'll see where you can put in your email address. Get on our mailing list. On January 1, you'll get an email telling you how to take advantage of this great membership discount. And number two, we have the rare, occasional open position on the program, okay? I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. If you're interested in applying, I'll give you the instructions in a second. Not following the instructions would instantly disqualify you. We have a full-time, fully remote position opening on the show. This is going to be a blended position, which will include editing and tech stuff, social media stuff, guest booking, and also booking me on other shows, being backup producer to producer Pat, and a bunch of other marketing and other tasks. If you are interested in this, the first step would be to email info@davidpakman.com with the subject open position. Any other subject would get you disqualified, okay? Attach your resume, don't paste it, attach the resume, and include a short note about why you feel you would be a good fit for this position. If you aren't sure what those 3 requirements are, just rewind this 30 seconds, okay? Info@davidpakman.com is the email. And then we will respond if you have followed the instructions. We will respond with a more formal position description. All right, we will take a quick break and be back right after this. As Trump's inauguration approaches, we're already seeing what the next 4 years are going to look like. A Trump campaign official said Pennsylvania election workers will face jail time for counting mail-in ballots with technical errors like missing dates, part of the right's attempt to sow election distrust and weaponize the courts. This story is almost exclusively being covered by right-leaning news outlets spinning the narrative to villainize the election workers, so the public probably has a skewed perspective on what's really happening. That is, unless you use ground news, which lets you see every side to every story like this one. Ground News is an independent platform that exposes the biases of media outlets by showing you who owns them, what angle they're taking on each story, and what hidden agendas might be lurking in the background. Ground News's daily briefings are a great way to stay informed without feeling overwhelmed. It gives a quick breakdown of the day's most critical stories from every angle. Go to ground.news/Pakman for 50% off their unlimited access Vantage plan. It's their biggest sale of the year, and the link is in the description.